Hi, my name is Marla. This is Chapter 8, Video Response, Effective Study Technique. Question 1. What is an effective study technique that I've used? In the past, I've used multiple study techniques in order to further advance in my studies. For one, I can note is flashcards. Flashcards are very helpful in my way of studying, especially when it involved in language or in purposes where I need to memorize something for a following exam, such as anatomy and physiology, where I need to know how things are spelled correctly, how things are supposed to be written, and how they pertain to certain objects in an anatomy and a physiological standpoint. Like I mentioned, language was also very helpful. I've taken ASL and Spanish. Spanish was very helpful for learning how to learning my conjugations, and ASL learning certain hand movements like family or love. Those were really helpful, especially with my Quizlet subscription. I used to just click on the site and go through them, but over time I realized that making my own was much better than just taking somebody else's word for it simply. Followed by another study technique that I like to use is Cornell Notes. Cornell Notes, if you aren't familiar with it, is something that the Avid program uses, and it entails using a college ruled line sheet paper, taking quarter of the paper and making a line down the side, making a line down the bottom. Now the line on the side is going to be your questions, or it's going to be a labeling of the slideshow that you're reading off of, for example, or a question that you have for a certain bullet of notes, and then you'd add whatever notes that you feel would be necessary. On the bottom would be your summary of what's happening on this page, so you can read through it and then get a summary of what you learned. And after taking those Cornell notes, you would follow up with a highlighter. You would underline and you'd circle, and you just get anything down that you happen to not understand. And then you would take the rest of that, write it on a sticky note, and then continue with another summary on the next page for new information that you've remembered. Another study technique that I've used beyond Cornell Notes and flashcards would have to be recording. Now, I get the consent of whoever I'm listening to, or if it's on YouTube, and I put it through either a note synthesizer or on Google. YouTube has a transcript reader of like all the notes from certain timelines and notes, and that's where I get my quotes from time to time. But using the transcripts on YouTube, I can make sure to write down or copy paste whatever they said that I feel was important to the information that I need to know and study for if there's going to be a following exam. Followed by just making sure that I get the consent of the person that I'm recording so I can further along my studies. I also like to listen back to the recording every now and then on my way to school, or I'm sitting down and actually studying. Now, how similar to different these strategies are suggested in the chapter. For one example is witness, I have it written out here. Witness misidentification. See, when I mentioned recording stuff, it was very similar because me and my neighbor could be watching the same lecture, but we'd hear two entirely different things from the lecturer. And I think that's where witness misidentification comes from, where we hear or see things that aren't actually happening. That's all I have for you today. Thank you.